Alright, let's see if we can't test some electrolytic capacitors. This is one of my favorite pieces of equipment, and you'll see why in a second after it warms up. This is the Heathkit C-3, C is in Charlie, C-3 condenser checker. Can measure resistance, capacitance, and it will test capacitors for DC leakage. An ideal capacitor will only pass AC and will block DC, but a capacitor that is starting to fail in this certain way will start to pass DC, draw current, and chances are that the cap could short and take out your rectifier or transformer, which is bad news for your power supply. This is why we're doing this test. I'm going to replace these anyways, but this is mainly out of curiosity. So first we'll start with the cap that was already clipped out of circuit and test it at 25 volts. So this is going to put 25 volts DC across that cap, and if there is any DC that leaks through the cap, this magic eye here will remain closed, or it will open very, very slowly, and it might only partially open. Right now it's open all the way. So if I take and turn that switch to leakage test, it's trying to charge the cap up, and it's taking way too long. So that one is definitely leaky. And when I release that switch, the neat thing about it is it's spring loaded. When I release it, it discharges that cap, so any voltage that was charged up is discharged to ground, so I don't have to worry about being zapped by it. But of course these leads are somewhat dangerous when you're holding that switch on leakage. There can be high voltage present depending on the position of your leakage test. So let's go to the next one, which I think is obscured by the big transformer there. So the next one, which was in circuit, looks like it's leaky. So this probably would not have been a good idea just to plug this in and see what happens, which is generally the case with older equipment that hasn't been plugged in a while. You should always have someone who knows what they're looking at open it up, take a look, and make sure it's safe. You never know if rats have gotten in there and chewed the wiring, or what kind of shape it is. Alright, so we'll move to the next one. Let me shut the light on for you. So leaky at 25 volts. Not looking good. Of course, polarity on electrolytics is important, so we have to be sure to pay attention to that. Where's it at? So that cap right there appears to be good. Maybe it's shorted. I've never come across a shorted cap before, and I have not tested the how this functions on shorts when testing leakage. But I believe the manual did say something about if the eye opens immediately like that, it indicates a short. Not sure. I'll have to look at the manual again on it. But I'm planning to replace all of these anyways. They're so cheap, they might as well. Some people say that you can reform these electrolytics, and I've heard a lot of mixed thoughts about that among different people, and they're so cheap, you know, you might as well. The most you'll pay is $1 a piece for them, if it's a high voltage strange value or something. Alright, so this one right here is leaky. The one that didn't show leaky, 450 volt DC, it's maximum DC voltage. That was 15 mic. This one is showing leaky, 150 volt, 100 mic. For the next one, I might have to get kind of creative. Of course, I did, before I started recording, I did take the time to clip one of the leads of each of these caps, so you wouldn't have to sit there and watch me fumble around with wire cutters. That one also appears to be leaky. What is that? 100 mic, 150 working volts. So, yeah, lifting at least one leg of these caps out of circuit before testing, before doing this leakage test, is very important, because, as I said, this cap tester is putting a DC voltage across the cap. So if both legs of the capacitor are in circuit, then you're powering that portion of the circuit, and there's no telling what kind of havoc you might cause by doing that. Alright, so this is one of the big ones. Now what is that? Can't really see. 85 degrees, I guess 85 degrees Celsius. Yeah, I can't see what the ratings are on those. 30 microfarad at 450 working volts. Of course, if these are leaky at 25 volts, there's no need to go up. I believe this cap tester will go up to 450 volts DC. Smooth. Let's see, the ground's on those, both connected together, so I don't have to worry about that. There it is. Also leaky. So this repeater belongs to a friend of mine who lives down the road, and he's no newcomer when it comes to this kind of stuff. Thankfully, he was wise enough about it to not try to plug it in when he got this. Oh, wrong. It's supposed to go on the negative end. It's a good thing that he knew better than to just plug it in and try and turn it on. I think that's the case with a lot of older radios. Especially with the tube rectifiers. I believe they just can't take the load of a shorted cap. That one's leaky. Alright, this will be the last one. In the power supply, at least. appears to be leaky. So all but one of the electrolytics. Alright, come on off there. I believe this was the one, the only one that caused the eye to open up. And it opens right up. Normally they take at least half a second to a second to charge up. That's a 15 microfarad at 450 volts. Let's go 450. And it opens right up. Let's go to 250. And it opens right up immediately. 350. Opens immediately. And 450. I think that one might be shorted. Huh. There's one way to find out. So I went and grabbed my meter. Figured should have grabbed it before I got down on the floor anyways, but it's always good to have with you everywhere you go. According to the Heathkit C-3, it's not shorted. Let's see what the meter says. Open circuit, so yeah, it's not shorted. It must just charge quick. I don't know. I don't think I've ever observed a cap that charged up that quick and opened the eye that fast on the Heathkit C-3. But I've only had this thing for, I don't know, maybe a year or so. That was a neat restoration. I wish I would have made a video of that one. But there is more stuff in the future that I hope to make videos on. But anyways, I guess that's about it for tonight. Thanks for watching.